Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to Trader Merlin Show. It is your Tuesday, Taco Tuesday. To be specific, yes, as Big Eb says, good news for crypto. Bring on that Genius Act, and that was kind of the title of today's show, is good news for crypto. And the reason I chose this title, to be honest, really has to do with the boredom in the markets. I found that the market's really boring today. I didn't see a ton of big moves. Everything was kind of flat. There were certainly some small waves in the equity indexes, but at least crypto had a good day, and most of it coming off the heels of what we talked about yesterday, which is the Genius Act, which I won't explain anymore today. But that Genius Act, pushing through. Yeah, sorry, Lisa, I got started late on the show today. Yeah, I started the show a little bit late. I'm still under the weather, and this is how bad my back hurts. I don't like to miss trivia, but I canceled on my friends with trivia tonight just because back's just a total mess. But we'll hopefully get something fixed there soon. So good news for crypto. What is it that we're looking at? Well, a couple different big pieces dropped today. Number one was obviously the Genius Act, which will open the doorway to much clearer regulation. And it's not just the regulation of stablecoins that's important. It's knowing that now the banks are now going to be custodying crypto. So we're going to get competition to companies like Coinbase. And of course, we could take a peek at Coinbase's stock. Still looking pretty good. I mean, it had obviously a wicked sell-off like the entire markets did. At one point, Coinbase from December 6th through April 7th was down 59%, but now it's having a pretty big rally, and we could be at all-time highs here soon. However, I guess the big wild card is knowing that Coinbase is a place for you to custody, meaning hold your cryptocurrencies. With the new changes that are coming, you might see different flyers and ads at your local bank. For example, your bank now technically can custody cryptocurrency. Jerome Powell said it was okay. Also, the OCC, the Office of the Comptroller of the Currency, has also said that banks can now custody cryptocurrencies and stablecoins. More so, they can issue stablecoins, meaning that your Wells Fargo, your JPMorgan can now issue stablecoins as long as it fits in with the rules. So when you have all of that positive stuff, basically opening the doorway to banks, I think even you haters of crypto out there have to appreciate that it's going to increase demand significantly. Now, are we going to get to the point that by the end of this year where I can go up to my Chase ATM and buy some Bitcoin with it? I don't know if it'll be that extreme. Obviously, we know what Jamie Dimon's views of cryptocurrencies are, so we'll talk about him in just a second. But it certainly opens the door to more adoption. Now, with stablecoin, you have to understand that part of that regulation, part of the clarity that they're going for under that Genius Act is the government will be issuing permission. And if you read through it, most of the permission is going to be given to large financial institutions. So I would expect to see stablecoin issuance from most major banks and possibly even some major corporations like an Amazon or even X or Tesla might be able to start to issue stablecoins. But it's all about regulatory clarity. What are these things and how do we work with them? For example, part of the big deal here in this Genius Act is they're creating a definition of what a stablecoin is. Now, like I said, it takes me less than 30 seconds to come up with a fairly clear, concise description of what a stablecoin is. And these guys are making big six-figure salaries, if not seven-figure salaries, and they can't figure it out. So hopefully that will add some clarity to it. And the big question I have, which I don't know the answer to, but part of this Genius Act says that cryptocurrencies should be treated the same as cash. Not cryptocurrencies, stablecoins. Stablecoins should be treated the same as cash. Now think about that for a second. If you have crypto stablecoins treated the same as cash, then by logic, I am deducing that we should also get FDIC protection on those cryptocurrencies. For example, the government is going to say you have to have a mix of US dollars and US government bonds. That's a cash equivalent. It's either going to be an FDIC protected, which means we get $250,000 protection, or it could move over to SIPC, which is now it's a security because it's paying you interest, therefore will give you SIPC protection. And I've been saying this for the past 6-7 years is I can't wait for the day when we actually have it under the same umbrella as other securities. For example, if you buy a share of Apple and you keep it over at your Amazon or your E-Trade account, you have SIPC protection, meaning if E-Trade were to do something bad or Schwab or whatever, where you keep your stocks, then up to $500,000, you're covered. So why not give us the same protection with cryptocurrencies and digital assets. So the door is open, and all of a sudden, I think we're seeing the floodgates pour in with positive things from a regulatory perspective. So that was a great one. Let's see. Dakota says, just saw on Twitter that one of the companies I own is preparing to file for bankruptcy. Should I just get out as soon as possible? Personally, Dakota, yeah. I've done both sides of this, Dakota, where something's going bankrupt and you hear about it and you're like, oh, I'll just hold it. Maybe they'll spin it off and it'll be better as parts, or it gets bought out or whatever. Generally, that's not the case. Generally, it just slow ticks down to zero. So personally, I would just say, get out. It's going to be to open the door to fractional reserve banking for cryptocurrencies. I think that door is already open. Remember, if a bank is doing it, like a Wells Fargo or JPMorgan, they will be doing lending as well. So it changes the dynamic, and to me, kind of changes the price trajectory of Bitcoin, and other cryptocurrencies. But what would I rather have here? So, Andres, you can put yourself in one of two categories. I either am happy that banks can now custody cryptocurrency because that fosters massive adoption, and that bank will now be pushing this on their customers because the banks will be making money off the interest earned on that crypto, just like they do on your cash deposits, right? So this is just another thing for banks to make money on. Do I like the fact they're fractional reserve lending? No, but I do like that the legitimacy by the Genius Act, meaning it's creating legitimacy for cryptocurrencies and digital assets. What's going to boost the value of my overall account in the long run more? Certainly, once we have institutional adoption and people using it around the world, that will cause it to grow much more. Or you're on the negative side, which is, this sucks. I don't want the banks to custody my cryptocurrency. I don't trust them. It's against what cryptocurrency represents. And I would agree with you. Part of me wants it nothing to do with the banks. Keep it out of the hands of the banks. The other side is, there's people saying that Bitcoin's going to get to, $13 million per coin valuation. I think that might be a bit lofty. Not impossible, but a bit lofty. In order for that to happen, there would have to be a lot of people using it, buying and selling and holding Bitcoin. So I'm more interested right now in adoption. And by adopting cryptocurrencies, that drives the overall demand. So I know that many of you here like Bitcoin. Some of you dislike it. 5 years down the road, it'll be a commonplace, and I think even the haters out there will be like, yeah, I have some Bitcoin. I'm using it to transact in these systems and these systems. It's just the nature of evolution of money. So let's enjoy and see where it goes. What's happening, Chris? Good to see you, Garfield. No, all right. Good. Soul says, the same friends that told you Bitcoin was a scam are now asking me if it's a good time. I know, right, Soul? Cracks me up. I feel pretty proud of myself because I've stood my ground in the face of extreme hatred and I will say discrimination and insults because of my belief of cryptocurrency and digital assets. Time will tell, right? Stand by what you believe in and do your research, of course. Does anyone see the Bitcoin ATMs in the neighborhood yet? They're there. Oh, yeah, no, absolutely. They're there. So I live in Southern California. Let's just go Irvine. So I just typed in Irvine Bitcoin ATM and click on maps over here. All right. So this is Irvine, California. And you can see there's one on this screen here, which is definitely a few miles. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 Bitcoin ATMs on this map alone. So wherever you live, if you go to Google Maps and you type in Bitcoin ATM, you're going to see a whole bunch of them near you. Look, don't use a Bitcoin ATM. Let's be very clear here. I'm glad you brought it up now. The Bitcoin ATMs are there. They are near you. But when you look at what a Bitcoin ATM is used for, it's to purchase. It's not like a normal cash ATM where you buy your Bitcoin and you can just withdraw Bitcoin from it as well, deposit or withdraw. This is exclusively you put in money and it gives you a piece of paper with a public key and a private key, and that is now your value worth of Bitcoin on the blockchain. They charge you a ridiculous amount for this. Not only that, but they also capture a ton of information. So they get your social security number. You have to give them that, your taxpayer ID numbers, address, phone number, and a copy of your driver's license. Now, 2017, there was no record keeping. You could just walk up and buy whatever you wanted. They also charge you 3 fees on a Bitcoin ATM. The first fee is the transaction cost. So they'll say, okay, it's a $5 minimum transaction cost. The second fee, they give a percentage of the transaction as well. So it's $5. Anything over that gets taxed at whatever, not taxed, but incurs a fee of, let's say, 3, 4, 5%. They do it there. And then the third way they get you is they widen the spread. And that's the mystery one that most people don't get to see. They make those so much wider than the market is currently at. So don't use Bitcoin ATM ever. Even the machines inside of your grocery stores. You guys know the Coinstar machines? You dump in your change and it gives you a little voucher. You can now buy cryptocurrency with that as well, but they charge you a 14% transaction fee just to buy the crypto. Why bother? All right, cash out, take your money, send it over to Kraken, and buy it with the cheapest fees out there, and then move it where you want it to go. Can we make money on Bitcoin ATMs just like they have for regular money withdrawals? If you're the owner of the Bitcoin ATM, certainly yes, you can make money. You can make money by charging all those exorbitant fees. For you and I as consumers, it's a question of convenience. It's a way to take $100 that you have right now, go buy some Bitcoin, and what you're going to end up with is probably, after all the fees are calculated using a Bitcoin ATM, if you put in a $100 bill, you're probably going to be getting about $85 worth of Bitcoin. It's $15 worth of transaction fees. It's crazy. So just leave it alone. Too much info to give to a standalone machine. I agree, Margaret. And when you give that information to this machine, it's sending that information out wirelessly. I'm sure that there's vulnerabilities to those systems. So as cool as it is and novel as it sounds, ooh, Bitcoin ATM, great. Do not use them, folks. Don't bother. It's not worth your time. It's more dangerous than anything else. When I first bought my first few Bitcoin, were done through a Bitcoin ATM, and there's no record of those ever. There was no driver's license given, no photo, no name, nothing. I just basically put in money and it spit out this paper wallet. So those are my golden eggs right there. Okay, so that's the basic news. Then you have this guy right here. You guys know Jamie Dimon, who, of course, hates Bitcoin. He despises it. He slams it with every word. I was seeing if I could do there and put a little writing on his mouth here that says hypocrisy, because he is now saying that you can keep your Bitcoin. You can buy Bitcoin through JPMorgan Chase. They're saying customers can now access that. So he may be a dork, but he's got some serious money and he's got clout. And look, on the surface level, the average person who reads just their news headlines will believe this guy is a total hater of cryptocurrency and digital assets. They're using digital assets right now. They're using blockchains like Avalanche and Ethereum to run their proprietary network, which is going to be used for banks only. It's called a federated blockchain, where only a few groups of people can access it, and that will be banks. But when JPMorgan, one of the largest banks out there, now says that customers can purchase Bitcoin, what does that do to legitimacy and adoption? Again, further opening that gate to that market. Jamie hates the tariffs also. He's a very opinionated guy. He should retire here soon. We'll see who takes his place. But let's go back and look at some of the crypto stuff for today. So we'll start obviously with Bitcoin because that was your big dog. This one had more volatility than our equity markets. Equity markets look pretty boring today. At one point today, we did make a new high, at least for the past couple months, and that was 107,350 for the spot price. Now, if we look at the futures, it's a bit higher than that, but this is what I'll be keeping my eye on. And again, I do think we'll get to that 109,356 by the end of the week. You have a lot of positive news out there, and as soon as we get that Genius Act officially put in place, been approved, it passed some pretty key votes, it still has a little bit ways to go here, I believe, then that will open up even more opportunity for people to buy into crypto and add some of these things to their portfolio. So, the grand scheme of things, we didn't see any really big numbers. If you look at the percentage gains here today, a lot of stuff up 1 or 2%, which is a normal crypto day. You didn't have any gigantic losers either. But we're headed in the right direction. I think that the trend here on Bitcoin clues you into that there's obviously money flowing into crypto, that the optimism is there, and of course President Trump with his dealings with the Middle East and opening up a whole bunch of opportunities there with crypto and digital assets was what made me want to put this graphic up here for today, which is good news. Now, I actually thought it would be moving a little bit faster than this. I thought that we would already be at like a 108 and getting ready to break the all-time highs like by Wednesday, but we'll have 3 more days to go until we get those highs, and we'll see. I'm still very optimistic that we're going to get to those all-time highs. Now, What else was out there today? I'm sorry, my brain's just a mess. Been just so busy teaching this morning, which is good because the market was flat and boring. Good news for me is tomorrow morning, my whole morning is open, so hopefully I will feel better and make some trades, do some day trades. Now, market says it could be interesting if oil was transacted in Bitcoin. And why shouldn't it? You know, if you are, let's say, Saudi Arabia, and Abu Dhabi wants to be the crypto capital of the world, and they're an oil producer as well. So you got Dubai, Abu Dhabi, that whole UAE area. If you throw Saudi Arabia in the mix, you know, Saudi Arabia, as long as they have the infrastructure set up to handle digital assets, Bitcoin's no different than a fiat currency. Actually, it's better because it can't just be printed out of thin air, right? The government can print up trillions and trillions of new dollars, whereas they can't print up trillions and trillions worth of new Bitcoin. So, yes, I think we will start to see, as Bill Addis points out, you have Saudi Arabia taking oil money in different currencies. It's always been the dollar, kind of historically. Would that kill currency risk? I think it would have a big impact on the currency markets because we'd see money flowing out of fiat currencies as a custody. So when you look at Saudi Arabia, they'd have a lot of dollars on hand. Why? Because the oil was denominated in US dollars. That's just how they did business. And now that we have some of these more fluid, high-frequency networks, you know, you could use something like Solana or Near Protocol or SWI or Aptos that have, 1 second finality. These transactions are way faster than the dollar could be. So I think it's in their best interest. The big worry here would be if you get your portfolio too overweighted in Bitcoin and something bad were to happen to that Bitcoin network, right? I heard a conspiracy theorist out there mentioning something similar to that, which is, they're just going to get all these people hooked on it so that central banks and governments all start to buy into this thought of Bitcoin being a very safe haven, only 21 million. And then as soon as, central banks are loaded up on it, they'll release the encryption code, which will crash Bitcoin to zero and crush government. So you have monetary weaponization, I think we could call this. And who knows if that's even possible, if there's some encryption key for SHA-256, which is what encrypts Bitcoin. I don't believe so, but if it did, that would really create tremendous volatility. But I think what it represents to me, Margaret, anyway, is having more of a choice of where to park my capital for long-term capital appreciation. And that, for me, is clear winner with Bitcoin. As far as watching what other projects might dominate, we talked about that this morning in my crypto session. There's a lot of them. We ran through, I think, 8 or 9 different cryptocurrency projects, and the big question is which one's going to make it, right? Which one will be the dominant player? I'll just give you an example. Here's SWI. So SWI is a layer 1 blockchain, does about 100,000 transactions per second, 1 second finality, very fast. Near Protocol only does a few thousand transactions per second, but very fast, scalable. You have, not Avalanche. Let's go into Solana, 65,000 transactions per second, 4 second finality. So a lot of these are fantastic, but we don't know which one's going to be the leader. They're all doing different things and trying to get faster, more efficient, and more transparent. So I don't know which one. U.S. is backed by our government. Bitcoin is not backed. Correct. Bitcoin's backed by code and scarcity, right? So you ask, what are these fiat currencies backed by? The full intention and faith in their government that issued them. That's really where the value of a dollar comes from, is knowing that they've got military force and the government is going to support the dollar and dollar-denominated industries. If you move into something like Bitcoin, it's not backed, and I think that's where part of the allure is. For me, anyway, I don't want to have a government that is warmongering or money printing or devaluing my currency on a regular basis. And that's not a jab at the U.S., although we are accused many times of warmongering and devaluing our currency and printing as much as we can. So I appreciate the competition, I would like to say. And while I still think the dollar is the world reserve currency, there is definitely a logical discussion that maybe we start to see more big money, sovereign money, institutional money flowing into digital assets, particularly Bitcoin, because of that scarcity and the fact that no one person at this point can manipulate it like a government can manipulate their fiat currency. The Arab states are moving towards tech and crypto to diversify from oil. Yep. We talked about that the other day, Big Eb. When I was first over in Dubai in 2005, I think I told you I did a museum tour. It was like the history of Dubai. and they were saying that they have 50 years left of oil. So when they run out of oil, what do they got? Not much. They got a lot of sand. A lot of sand around there. So yeah, they're smart. Move towards tech, move towards building industry, move towards infrastructure, right? This is a huge step for them. And I think it's absolutely fantastic that they're doing it. They made themselves a tax haven as well. No taxes over in Dubai. So what did that do? That brought in developers to build these huge towers and skyscrapers. So now you have the infrastructure to support your booming city. So very bright minds over there thinking of the future in the Middle East and building out their infrastructure while their oil's still there, because they need to start moving away from oil, right? Get away from it into other industries. What's my opinion of Justin Sun? I think he's kind of a slimy, arrogant, I don't know what you call him. He comes across as very slimy to me. I wouldn't trust him as far as I could throw him. However, his project, which is Tron, you guys might know Tron. Let's see if I don't even know if I have TRX on here. I thought I did. Oh, there's Tron. So Tron, as you can see, hasn't done much for the last few months, but it had this huge surge back in December of last year. Now just kind of flat and slowly trickling to the upside. So Justin Sun, back in 2014, 15, took a copy of Ethereum's code, did a search and replace on the white paper, and replaced everything that said Ethereum with his own name, Tron, and released their blockchain. It's pretty much the same thing as Ethereum. They've made some minor changes over the years. But yeah, that's lazy. I guess it was opportunistic at the time. He did a very good thing with buying up a lot of different companies to diversify his holdings and make it more of a conglomerate of different digital asset companies, which is a very smart move. He's now very buddy-buddy with President Trump. So he's doing things with World Liberty Financial. Donald Trump is, you scratch my back, I'll scratch yours. It's one of those ones. I do own a lot of Tron because back in 2017, I was buying up all kinds of different ones. And I thought that what they were trying to do was interesting. They've changed their model many, many times. But he also saved a lot of the coins of his network and brought in developers. Saved it, bought in a bunch of really good developers, and started building on his blockchain. So it's doing much better now. It's doing pretty good. Pirated, yes. If you read the drama about it, the white paper which he issued for Tron is just a straight copy of another project. Did a search and replace the project's name with his, and there you go. Which honestly, I think it happens quite a bit in the crypto industry. So I'm not a big fan of Justin Sun. I do own Tron. I like the fact that he's always trying to put his nose in the spotlight and be the center of attention on a lot of different issues. So, I can respect that. And just like Ripple's doing it with money. They're paying. Ripple's paying to get its position at the table on Capitol Hill. They've got billions of dollars. They're clearly giving lobby money to the different industries and the politicians. So, is that any different than what happened with oil companies or tobacco companies or financial institutions, right? They'll be up on Capitol Hill lobbying, drug companies, right? They're always lobbying to get their stuff pushed through. So I own it. I don't think it's the worst one out there, but it certainly wouldn't be one of my top 5. There's a lot on my list. Actually, by the way, I dumped this one the other day. I had an order. So you guys might find this entertaining. I had an order that was back here in 2022, and I had an order for $330 on Monero. It was just something I wanted to get out of, and I want to be out of Monero anyway. For those who don't know what Monero is a privacy coin. It's a coin that I can send money back and forth to people, and no one knows where it came from or who sent it, or it's just money shows up in the account. Now, given what's going on Capitol Hill with the Genius Act, there's a big discussion on transparency and accountability. One of the provisions that is mandatory for a stablecoin to function in the United States is whoever issues that stablecoin, let's say it's Bank of America, if they issue a stablecoin, they must be able to block, freeze, and identify every transaction and every person on the end of that transaction. That's scary. There's a lot more KYC, know your customer, so your personal information will need to be exchanged to use those blockchains, but the ability to shut it off at any moment in time. With Monero, there's no transaction record. You don't know who sent you what, right? Big Eb could give me his wallet and I could send him some Monero, but in the code, when it's tracking, it won't show where it came from. It's obfuscated. It's mixed with a thing called ring signatures, which is an encryption method to block personal information or block information. So in my opinion, Monero and Zcash and other privacy coins are probably going to be pushed out of the United States. The government would not want that. OCC wouldn't like that. What, the fact that you can hide transactions, Sava? And that's exactly why I sold. And I had this order in there for $330. It actually went all the way up there and hit it a couple days ago. I was shocked. I was like, wow. I mean, look how much this thing moved. You want to talk about a big winner? If you go to the lows we had here in February of last year to where we are today, this is one of the best performing vehicles out there. 272% gain. Love it. All right. Sava says, hey, Merle, my company just entered a tail hedging using USD Euro cross currency basis swap. The idea is to provide downside protection in the event of a major event. So they're basically going long the euro. I don't see a problem with that. You know, if you feel that the US dollar is going to go down, and they've pretty much telegraphed that they are going to push it down, right? They say they want a weaker dollar, and they're making that happen, and the trend is that way. So, you know, how would you get around this? Well, you'd buy the euro. So let's go look at that Euro USD. Notice that over that same window of time, the euro's had a pretty significant run. So yes, I think that is actually a great way to hedge it. But you really have to have strong convictions, right? It's difficult with this market volatility we're experiencing today, given all that happens on a daily basis here in our financial markets. Let's see. I don't want to pay either. Wait, what was that about? We got people who don't want to pay for tax. Oh, yeah. And Lisa, it's not just for people who don't want to pay. Monero is really like a libertarian concept. It's saying, and I believe this one, it's saying if I'm sending you money to whomever, let's say I send it to Lisa, then that's between you and I, and nobody else's business. So I'm definitely a believer in that. I think that there should be privacy in your transactions. However, not the way it is today, right? We all know Bitcoin is completely transparent, and you can monitor every transaction that happens there with Bitcoin. So that's just one of the downsides of those systems. I love privacy coins. I just have a feeling the government's going to crack down on it. So if I know that's coming, sell the latest rally, and there we go. I know, Margaret. So at some point you may have to do transactions in a different system to get that privacy, right? Is it anybody's business and what I do with my money? Really, it isn't. It should be nobody's business. But as Big Eb said earlier, it's for criminals. Look, if you're somebody who's extorting money or doing illegal activities, Monero or Zcash is certainly what you want to do. If you want to launder money, Monero or Zcash is the way to go. Hendricks, and can I look at Dominion? I see LNG and natural gas is being sold as the country needs to make more energy. Well, let's go to Dominion. I mean, the chart of it doesn't look that great, right? You've obviously got this pretty significant sell-off that happened in 2022 all the way through the end of 2023, but now we're starting to stabilize. So it's like we've got this big picture downtrend, intermediate up, and now all of a sudden short-term down. For me, if I'm looking at Dominion, to jump into it, I'm going to need for it to start making some new highs. I need to get through these kind of swing pivots that it hasn't been able to get through, and that's 61.26. Now, if you look at LNG, Cheniere, way different chart, right? That one's got a much better trend going to the upside. And I guess the ultimate thing is, what are your thoughts on natural gas? Let's go see. I should have it on my futures. The chart here, natural gas futures, doesn't look very good. It looks actually like it's just getting worse and worse. This looks like a head and shoulders pattern that's about to come back down this neckline, which for all intents and purposes, would lead me to believe that we're going to see the price of natural gas drift lower and lower. And while I agree with you, Hendrick, on natural gas being more in demand, we also have a market that's starting to become more and more saturated with oil. So as demand is there for oil, this drill baby drill is pushing the prices of oil lower and lower. Not only that, but you have the increased production from OPEC. So we'll go here to CL. I've got that line drawn across the highs on crude oil here going back into January of this year. And to me, the bias has still got to be to the short side. So, yep. Yep, I had that as well, that natural gas ETF. Let's see. USA transactions in crypto. VB. No. So, what are your thoughts on the robotaxi event? I think it's going to cause a big spike. And let's talk about Elon Musk for a minute. Elon Musk was on a Qatar conference call today. Boy, they were grilling him. It was interesting how much they were grilling him on his compensation package. He just finally says, that's enough, move on. Much respect to him for that. Now, their self-driving car day, I think, will be a big one. I think that you're going to see robotaxi do very well. Now, the fact that he's in Trump's pocket and making very, good allies with the current administration, with the Republican Party, for sure. The Democrats now hate the guy, which is interesting. I think that robotaxi event will be a good one. Again, Texas is probably the first recipient of the fully autonomous robotaxi. I saw a comment in here about Waymo. Didn't someone from Tesla just say they're years behind Waymo? I didn't see that. The big discussion there is the LiDAR versus cameras. So years ago, Elon Musk, they actually started with LiDAR, but Elon Musk, they were having issues. And it was a time when supply chain disruptions were a big thing. And he's like, let's just go with cameras. I want more cameras. And he had a bunch of arguments with his development team about that, but ultimately they went with cameras. I have a feeling that you'll probably see a hybrid from them in the future, using LiDAR as well as the camera. So I have kind of dual systems going to make sure, it functions. He said he's not interested in buying Uber. Yeah, why would he? He doesn't need to. Look, I'll tell you what, if Elon Musk said that there is a robotaxi is now here in Southern California, I'd go download the app, put it on my phone, I'm good to go. I would absolutely give it a shot right away. It's always such a crapshoot when you have an Uber on who you get, their attitude, how they talk to you, whatever. Just put me in a car and play some music and get me to my destination. I don't want to talk to anybody. He did say he's going to buy more GPUs and NVIDIA. Yes, I did see that as well. So let's stay on that the vein of Elon Musk getting back into Tesla. So obviously there's the pay package issue. Elon Musk, rightfully so, deserves a boatload of money. Still hasn't been paid. There's been contentious legal battles about that with the courts of Delaware, where apparently the judge, which Elon Musk doesn't call him a judge, he calls him a clown or something like that. I forgot what he said. But, he should get paid for doing what he's done with Tesla. It's just incredible. Now, ideally, he'll get back to brass tacks and take Tesla to the next level because, in my opinion, the car market is fine. I think you could bring in another CEO and run Tesla as a car company without Elon Musk. I think where you got to keep Elon Musk on is the visionary making something that hasn't been completed yet through to the finish line, and that is the robotaxi as well as their AI robot, or AI as well as the robot. So I think that he'd be much better on board. If you guys are Elon Musk's, shareholders, meaning you own Tesla, you should kind of be on the positive side here and be like, okay, Elon, come back, let's get this stuff done, take us to the finish line, and then move on. And he wants ownership. He wants the ownership of the company. Mark says, please comment on this. Elon Musk's XAI company is building a supercomputer named Colossus in Memphis, Tennessee, to power the artificial intelligence projects, including the chatbot Grok. Getting a lot of hate in Tennessee? I don't know why you'd get a lot of hate in Tennessee. Why would you hate that? Because power consumption? Wow. So my take on it is this. When you have a rivalry, you get great performances, right? It's kind of like I loved back in the day when you had Troy Aikman playing Steve Young and Niners and the Cowboys in the Super Bowl. You had, those were their apex quarterbacks at the time. Anytime you have two extremely driven, extremely motivated, and in this case, extremely intelligent human beings with Sam Altman and Elon Musk, who have started as friends, and then those bridges were burnt, and now all of a sudden they're going their separate ways, and they are vocally haters of each other, right? Sam Altman tries to play a little bit more diplomatic. Elon Musk just like, screw this guy, I hate him. So now what you're going to get is an even faster push for innovation. OpenAI, ChatGPT, is pushing to have the most robust AI model. Well, all of a sudden, Grok came out of nowhere, and in my opinion, out of nowhere, and all of a sudden, I find it much better than OpenAI's ChatGPT. To the point earlier, someone that said, you heard that it was Oliver, says he's going to buy more GPUs with NVIDIA and AMD. Yeah, he's going to buy as many as he can to make his supercomputer and his AI system eclipse whatever Sam Altman does. And my guess would be, this is just me and knowing how petty Elon Musk can be, he'll build this out, this XAI, and make it absolutely unbelievable. And then he's going to just do it for free. And he's going to do it for free to get everybody who's used OpenAI to drop ship and move over to his, thus killing OpenAI. I think he's basically saying, I'm going to stick it to OpenAI. And then once it's done, then they'll start charging a small fee. But, I don't know if you guys have used Grok. Grok is pretty darn good. They're pretty good. I think that OpenAI does a better writing if you're going to have it do writing for you. But just the conversation interface, man, Grok, it's like I'm talking to a person. I feel like I really have a human on the end of my conversations. And also for those of you who are looking at these systems, kind of figuring them out and like which one do you like best, OpenAI, when I ask for a response, like let me see if I can show you here. Let's go to a new chat. Let's see, new chat. Where's my, there we go, new project. I'm going to call this one Trader Merlin test. I spelled it wrong, but I'm creating a project called Trader Merlin test, right? So let me get both of these set up. And I'll say, give me a review of Trader Merlin show on YouTube. All right, so let me get a stopwatch here. I'm going to show you guys this and just give you an idea of how long this takes. And let me just get a stopwatch going here. And I will start it right, just so you guys are all on the same page, right now. Okay? Okay, not bad. Ooh, I'm a smart, no-nonsense resource for anyone serious about trading and investing. I love it. Okay, that was actually pretty quick. It still gave me the verdict. Oh, it's a must-watch if you want unfiltered, practical marketing. Yeah, see? Damn good review. Okay, that took 18 seconds. That took 18 seconds. Now let me get Grok up here, and I'm going to copy and paste the same thing just to give you an idea of how much faster it was. Well, 18 seconds is pretty fast. Let's go here and go to Grok. Let's go to my X account. I noticed with Grok, it does a lot more emoji type stuff. So here we go. And oops. Let me refresh this. So it was 18 seconds, reset, and here is Grok's version. Oh, I might get OpenAI. OpenAI may actually win this one. We're at 8 seconds, 10 seconds. It's flying through it. Weaknesses, niche appeal. Yeah, that's probably it. Technical issues. Ooh, often glitches like hard drive crashes. Son of a biscuit. Okay, so this actually, in that case, lost to OpenAI and ChatGPT. I like them both, but I find myself using more Grok. Usually Grok is faster. Maybe they just upgrade the system, but typically it's been way better on Grok. Kind of funny. I mean, that's just amazing how quickly it digests information, right? Occasional glitches, and it says repetitive content. Repetitive contents. Yeah, well, you try to do a show every day by yourself and not repeat things, man. Come on. I can't create stuff out of thin air. I don't like their response. Does it know? I don't know. Am I married? No definitive public information. So there you go. Grok is wrong. It mentions repetitive content. Maybe. I mean, maybe. Either way, I think you got to play with these systems to find out which one you like the best and which one fits you best. I do like the Grok system. I'm not going to ask it that, Margaret. You guys can ask on your own channel. That should be undisclosed as well. No definitive public information confirming my net worth. I'm sure people have looked for it. But one of the big differences for me is if you look at ChatGPT, over here on the left-hand side, I have a whole bunch of different topics, groups, if you will. They call them projects. Whereas Grok, they have a history button up here. You can go back and see the recent ones. But yeah, I like it a little bit better on OpenAI when it comes to keeping conversations or strings of thought in one cohesive group. All right. So yeah, I do think that Elon Musk is going to continue to buy as many of these units as he can. I think he's going to push the envelope and try to shut down ChatGPT. There we go. Your 8 charts is repetitive. Your 8 charts is repetitive, and it is part of your stream. What do you mean my 8 charts? Oh yeah, the daily start. Yeah. Well, you know what? We're active traders, and for the sake of being repetitive, let's go talk about those 8. Here we go. Well, I mean, you guys all know you have to go through this stuff every day because every day tells a different story. And today was a story of boredom, was it not? I thought today's was just, meh. It was, I don't know. Look at the range for today. I'm zooming in here just so we can see kind of the range for today. You had a spinning top on the S&P 500 was down 0.38%. It's like, not. I mean, really, we've been drifting higher, but not with a lot of conviction. It's barely been kind of just a choppy mess. S&P really giving us no major signs of anything other than the trend is your friend. Just keep in mind that 6,000 here is that level where we could run into and potentially have a pullback. So I kind of feel like there's going to be a little blip pullback here just because of that 6,000 mark. It's that whole number psychology. Now you look at the NASDAQ, similar picture. It's tiny, small little range. I mean, it might actually have a narrower range than Thursday and Friday of last week, which were very tiny ranges, compression. Typically, when you have something like that, you're just going to put a line below the low of the day and just sandwich it, right? You could do this. Let me bring it over here, and we will do a little box on this bad boy. Oops, wrong cue. You just go like that and use this box as your range and say, don't do anything until it gets out of there. That makes it easy, right? Non-emotional, just let it go. Dollar index, down 0.3%. And again, we talked about this one yesterday where I feel like there is a higher probability. That's all I'm looking for is just the probability moving lower in this one. So we have more downside movement. Expect that dollar to challenge these lows right around $98 here over the next week or two. I do think that that's a very real reality. Yeah, that's a great way to put it, Margaret. She says the ES acted exactly like we were waiting for an announcement, and it did. It just felt like just hesitation and nothing going on. And even you look at a 5-minute time frame, certainly the first half of the day, it felt like we were all just waiting. And then right around 11 o'clock, it started to drop, had a pretty decent sell-off, and then recouped almost all those losses. So, we were down at one point. Let me get the exact number here on the day. I'll see what our max drawdown was. At one point, you're looking at S&P down roughly about 0.77% from yesterday's close. So not bad, not bad. All right, moving on up the list here. I'll get you to do your economic calendar and wrap this up. The dollar index, we had crude oil as well, drifting, but just barely lower, 0.18. This looks very similar to that dollar index chart. Downtrend line, I would use that downtrend line or moving average to act as a supply zone for you and kind of keep you on the right side of a trade, but the dollar and crude oil both looking exactly the same. Weak. Next one, Russell 2000. Unchanged, 0.06% gain. I'll call that unchanged. The noteworthy part for me on the Russell, guys, is it's still just stuck in that yellow box, has not been able to break it. And again, the longer that this goes, the more likely this thing's going to rip to the upside. More likely that's going to pop to the upside. So keep your eye on this bad boy. If it does, continue to hesitate here, I'll stretch this box down further and incorporate the lows from May 15th and just kind of keep a big yellow box there. Top 3, 10-year yield back up 0.81% today. We're at 4.485. Not that big of a deal, but the pattern is definitely there of stair-stepping higher. We've got to break above that 4.6 mark before we really see big moves to the upside, but trend is there, moving to the upside. Sure, I'll get to Hendrik's question in just a second. Bitcoin. There's the beautiful chart of the day. This, from a day perspective, this is the highest price that Bitcoin on the futures markets has ever closed at. It's been higher, obviously, back on the 21st of January, but this is the highest it's ever closed at, is 107. We're at 107.360 right now on this bad boy. So looking great. This candle will finish up here shortly, but still moving to the upside. Trend is your friend till the bend at the end, which is why I've been feeling confident on this one going higher. And then finally, gold breaks back above that little yellow box. I'm going to get that out of there because it's no longer relevant. We were up 1.58%, closing at 32.84 on the day for gold. Again, trend is your friend till the bend at the end. There's only one piece of weakness on gold, and that's the fact that this low, which happened last week, broke the low from the 1st of May. All right, let me see. Where was Hendricks? And then I'll get to Mike's here. Hendricks says, Have you seen Nebius earnings stock and positive? No, I have not. I didn't even look at Nebius. Nebius Group? No, did not see it. Don't know what they do. Sorry, Hendricks. No, there was an AI company as well that I wanted to check out. What was that? QBTS. This is another one that's getting a lot of attention as well. D-Wave Quantum. They said they got a commercial quantum computer that's now available. Their stock surged on that one, but I would be very careful playing with that one. All right, Mike, what'd you say? You said, just curious, what do you think? What do you think Grok and OpenAI are looking at in order to give the assessment that they did? Obviously, they cannot be watching all of your shows to arrive at conclusions. Wasn't that impressive, Mike? The fact that in 20 seconds it went through and knew that there was a common thing with glitches on my show and stability issues. You've got to watch all that. So, in my opinion, they're taking those YouTube videos and that's part of the data set. It has to be. I doubt that there's somebody that's got transcripts of the show where it's like, oops, sorry guys, my internet dropped. I'll check that real quick. They've got to be watching the show. So I think it's already built into the language model. And if you look at all the content that's on YouTube, it's easy. It's time consuming, but you can just say, analyze these shows. And someone, it feels like, is uploading my shows to Grok. It's already been analyzed. It's already on their database. So I find it fascinating that quickly it can give me such an incredible rundown of my show. I was pretty impressed. What else do you say? Thanks, Mark. I would as well. Using your spoken words on YouTube for analysis? Yeah, I think so. When I trained OpenAI, so I have a model on OpenAI that's called My Voice. So, for example, if Big Eb likes to golf, so if Big Eb was to write a paper on golf, it's going to have his personality will come through in the writing, his nomenclature, his I don't know, cynicism or whatever, how he writes is going to come through. So if Big Eb was to write an article about golfing, you'd get the sense of who Big Eb is. Now, Big Eb might say, listen, I don't want to take the time to write an article on golfing, so I'm going to go out to here to OpenAI, and I'm just going to say, write me an article on golfing. Make it fun and exciting. I mean, what else do I need to put in there? And right away, in 30 seconds, he'll have an article. Why golf is the most addictively awesome game you'll ever play. I think that might actually be something that Big Eb would write, would you? So when you look at this, it's great. I mean, it's going to write a nice piece. But if you're trained, not only can you print this out in a matter of seconds, you can take this copy, and there are websites you can go to and paste this text into that website, and it'll tell you whether it was written by AI because it knows the patterns and the algorithms. So you can go and train your voice. So what I did is I took several of my shows, several of the actual articles that I wrote, took hours and hours to write. I uploaded those to ChatGPT, and now it knows my voice. So I can have it write an article in my voice, which would, anybody who knows me would read it and go, oh yeah, Merlin wrote that. Definitely a really big bonus to these AI systems is training it your own way. OpenAI. Yeah, I know. Sam Altman's got, and that's why Elon Musk doesn't like him very much. That's nice. Now can it fix my swing? In the future, you probably have an AI golf club. You just have to hold it and it just automatically swings for you. In the future, it's coming. That should be available in a few months. They'll set up a camera, watch you. Yep, I saw AI videos of our new Pope. Can you do that with yourself, Merlin? What, make me the Pope? Can I make me the Pope? I could probably make a video with me and the Pope. Take me a little bit of time, but there's a lot of AI programs out there that will allow you to do these crazy videos. And particularly with Sora. So Sora is their video platform. So I can go in here and say, show Merlin Rothfeld. Let's see if it even knows who I am. I'm going to put on, or dress as the Pope. All right, so we'll just see how long this takes. Show Merlin Rothfeld dressed as the new Pope. I don't know if I'm popular enough for it to know me, but I'm pretty much guaranteeing that there is no Merlin Rothfeld out there other than myself. So now it's going to take a little bit of time here to process this request. While it does, I'll continue to talk here. But George Wendt died today? Oh, man. I might have to have a beer tonight just in honor of George Wendt. Oh, man, what a show. Cheers. What a great show that was. No videos of me saying what I want you to say with a video of Merlin speaking. Oh, my gosh. I have been working with a lot of AI lately. A lot of AI. And I can do some pretty amazing things. All right, while I wait for this one to finish up here, showing Merlin Rothfeld as the Pope, I'm curious what I can bring up. Let me go through your economic calendar for tomorrow. The last couple of days have been boring. Really, the only exciting piece here was the Australian cash rate. That dropped by 25 basis points, which was as expected. No surprise there. Everyone expected it to be 25 basis point cut. And, of course, the Canadian dollar starts to fall. The Australian dollar starts to fall, as would normally happen, right? You're devaluing. You're removing the incentive for people to hold your currency, right? I was making 4.1% by holding it. Now it's 3.85. I may sell this and actually go buy some other currency. So it'll cause people to sell. But that was your only real major piece there for yesterday, or for this morning, really. And then today and tomorrow were the boring ones. So you had nothing for the USA yesterday. Not one announcement for the USA. And not one for tomorrow either. So really boring here with regards to economic announcements. Don't worry, we get some stuff on Thursday. We've got services and manufacturing numbers. But we do have some earnings here. So let me bring up the old earnings calendar. Okay, I'll steer away from Grok and go to Forex Factory. Oh, no, that's not what I want. I want my earnings calendar. So here is Zach's calendar, and to show you what's happening tomorrow, we actually have a few names popping up tomorrow, which is going to be good. You have Home Depot, Palo Alto Networks. That was today. Hold on. No. Yeah, that was today. Target, Lowe's, Baidu, TJ Maxx. We got retail that's coming out. Urban Outfitters. And again, retail sales didn't look that good. But those are some of your bigger names there. I'll sort here by market cap so you can see. Yeah, TJ Maxx. I don't know what SC Laurie Luxottica, I guess is glasses. Lowe's Company, Medtronic, and Snowflake. That's one that we talked about reporting tomorrow. So that's your show for today. Let me see if this is finished yet on my Sora. It has not. Oh, there it is. Click when I'm ready to view. It doesn't look anything like me. But yeah, that was show Merlin Rothfeld dressed as the new Pope. Now I could go in here with different platforms. Grok is actually much better than this. Let's see if I can get Grok to do one. I'll do them side by side, just for fun while we're here. Why not? Grok has a way different video processing engine. Show Merlin Rothfeld dressed as the Trader Merlin. Yeah, let's see. Create a picture of. There we go. I think I have to use Merlin Rothfeld because it will know that that's my actual name. Trader Merlin is just a show. But Grok is pretty quick. It's going to be a little bit faster than Sora. But Sora is actually going to do a video. Man, do I look that bad? I look pretty smug. My eyebrows are not white, okay? It's not going to happen. That's just definitely not me. So it doesn't know me. Good. At least I'm anonymous to the AI at this moment in time. Do we get anything better with this one? It's got my forehead wrinkles down. Yeah, make me look a little too old there. That could be me in like 30 years, but no. All right, everybody, that's gonna do it for me. I have no ambitions of being the Pope. Let's not get carried away. Tomorrow is Wednesday. We actually do have some announcements happening tomorrow, at least on the earnings side of things. Hopefully a bit more exciting, and I'll be trading tomorrow because I don't have classes in the morning, which will be exciting. So if you have something you want to discuss, let me know. Email me at tradermerlin@gmail.com. That said, happy trading, everybody. I will see you all tomorrow.